Hey, Gator Nation, welcome back to the Respect Our Decision podcast on a victory Sunday, guys, as the Florida Gators defeat the Vanderbilt Commodores yesterday for homecoming. A pretty great all-around game. Not a whole lot of bad takeaways from yesterday's effort. We'll discuss some things that maybe we didn't like. But like I said, not a whole lot of that out there. A very soundly played game by the Gators, but we're going to break it all down for you guys. As always, I'm your boy Hirsch. With me, CJ the Man McCann.
What's up, guys?
And the hype man, a little more hype today, Wes.
What's good, Gator Nation?
Yes, sir. All right, boys, as always, make sure you download us wherever you get your podcast from. And if you're watching us on YouTube on this fine Sunday, or if it's Monday by the time you see it, go ahead, give us a subscribe, drop a like on the channel, and leave a comment down below on what you thought about the Gators' performance yesterday. Give us who you feel maybe was your player of the game in the comments below. All right, boys, let's get right to it, man. We're not going to take too much time up talking about this. I mean, it is Vandy. We did what we should do whenever we played the Vanderbilt Commodores. We should not be in a slugfest, even though it kind of looked like it might be early on in the game. We had some, I don't want to say early pains, but we shot ourselves in the foot with a trick play, which, why are we running trick plays when we can't even score in the red zone? But hey, the play was there. Jackson just needed to put a little more oomph on it, maybe not take it so nonchalantly, but that's just one negative takeaway. I'm gonna just give my thoughts real quick, and then we'll go around the horn here. Obviously, Arlis Boardingham, what a breakout performance for that young man. He's finally seemingly putting it together. Obviously, being so hurt in the tight end room is not helping his target, since there's pretty much no one left on the bench behind him and Hansen to play. Boardingham played great. Trey Wilson came back, showed some flashes. Obviously, Montrell Johnson was the Montrell Johnson we've been waiting to see all year, running with his shoulder down, not trying to juke and spin and do all those things. That's not really his style. Trey Webb showed flashes of speed and breakaway ability that I don't think a lot of people thought he had coming out of college. There was a lot of question marks about his high-end speed and whatnot, but obviously that one long run, he hit that hole like a wild man. I thought the offensive line blocking yesterday was great. Pass blocking was pretty solid too, considering the cast that we had. No Barber, no Kingsley. Big shout out to Big Cameron Waits coming back from that Achilles tear and playing just 9 months later, giving hope to the Aaron Rodgers of the world that it can be done. Just a lot of solid efforts. Defense had some moments, had a few lapses. Obviously, the Jason Marshall play probably doesn't need a whole lot of talking about. Obviously, everyone had an issue with that. I don't believe anybody, regardless of the face mask, can condone giving up on a play and going immediately petitioning to referees for flags. King Jackson got beat, but then stepped right back up on the next 2-3 plays. Freshman mistake. That young man's going to get it. We saw some other things that just weren't always at top notch, but you saw a lot of guys play yesterday on defense. Obviously, we saw Tahada Mitchell on the field, and we understand now why he's not starting over the other linebackers. He's just not very, very good in coverage. His speed's not probably anywhere close to the other guys, but he is a leader. It's good to have those on the team. We've talked about that in the past episodes after losses about not having leaders on the team. Started two young safeties. I thought they played pretty well all in all, especially for Thornton getting his first ever start with Mitchell banged up and out. So we did what we needed to do, man. We played a game with a lot of guys injured. We still really put our foot on the gas, especially in the second half. Did the things we needed to do, rotated a lot of guys, a lot of young guys played. Big shout out to TJ Searcy for creating a fumble on a play that looked like it was almost over. That young man has flashed since game one. We've talked about him several times on the show. He's going to be a baller. Kelby Collins is going to be a baller. I got a text midway through the game, and the text said everything that's good about this team is the kids, and I really can't argue that. The future is bright. We just have to get there, and that's going to be the growing pains of this team. Is can we be patient enough to get to all these kids on the field at the same time? All of Billy's recruits playing together, and not a patchwork of guys. And yesterday was a good sign of the future. Obviously, the downside is now we get into the real meat of the schedule. There are no cupcakes. There are no easy wins. Every game is going to be a battle. So now you got to get healthy and get ready. All right, Wes, let's start with you, man. What were your main takeaways?
I'm gonna just piggyback off what you just said, and I think that's Billy's saving grace with the fan base. I think yesterday was a glimpse, as you spoke about, into the future of what this program can be, and that's why I thought last year was his first class. I know he came in like short with that very first class, and people have the term bum class and all that. I thought last year was really his first class, and it was a class that you can build on. And you saw these guys, these young guys that you mentioned, the Cersei and Collins. I mean, we were talking about Cameron James and Kevin Collins last year, and we said Cersei's pretty good, but we didn't know he was going to be this good. I can speak to that. Speaking for myself, I didn't know it was. I was thinking Cameron James and Kevin Collins, and Collins has done what we expected him to do. I know he doesn't have the flash plays, but he plays that other defensive end, like Boom, the strong side, which helps stop the run and show up on the end. And those two, Collins and Cersei, in the future look like to be a dynamic duo. And I love what I see from those two guys. You brought up Bryce Thornton. I want to see more of Bryce Thornton. Guy comes up. He coming up to lay licks. He was running the ball. He played. I think we had a penalty. I think it was Banks had the late hit, but he was in coverage and even made a hell of a play in that on that play in coverage. So he's showing me that he's a 2.0 of my boy. Jordan Castell. They looked similar in size and stature, and I didn't know they were that big either. But I just love what I see from those two guys. And safety looks like we're sure up there in the future. You spoke about Jakeem Jackson. We know what Devin Moore is on the other side as far as the future, as far as the secondary. That looks set. We do, and I can't wait for these new linebackers to come in next year to go with that. And that's where I'm heading to with what I wanted to say. That's why this class was so important, the 2024 class, to build depth behind the guys that we see now. We need that class that's coming in this year in January, that we're going to sign in January, to build the depth from what we see now. Treon Webb looked good. Trey looked good. We saw Gene out there. He didn't make too many plays. I don't think they threw him the ball, but we saw him back out there. He's getting more PT. You spoke about Bordenham. Looks like the tight end that we heard about throughout camp. Sometimes it takes a guy a while to adjust. They heavily targeted him yesterday, and he made plays when the ball was thrown his way. Running through, even on that third down, the way he was short of the sticks, but that was all effort on his part as far as getting the first down. You got to love that from what we saw. You spoke about the offensive line. I love more quick game. I spoke about that, and we started off with quick game, and I loved it. But it seems like when we get to that 40-yard line, if I have a critique, is when we do that play action and those slow developing deep routes, it's just not there. I'd just rather us just do a 3 or 5 step drop, go ball. That play action is not working for us on that. So that would be my critique. You spoke about Marshall and the effort. It should have been a penalty, but you got to play after that. Other than that, and I think you pointed this out yesterday as well, Hurst. The special teams, man. We can't have all 8 guys with the kick returner, the punt returner, and nobody's going to the goal line. 2 guys. If it's 6 of y'all down there, somebody has to say, "Hey, if he does decide to run a muffet, they're there. So let me go behind just in case he's duking us."
That looked like what you do in practice when they practice just breaking down on a return.
Yeah.
All 4 guys chopping the field around the guy. Not one guy looks up and spots the punt. Not one guy. Not one guy goes by to be behind in case there's a fumble or to check the ball checks up.
Yeah.
That's middle school technique.
And I still don't know why our scholarship kicker hasn't been kicking the last 2 years. Mac hasn't missed anything yet. Everything has looked clean from the snap to the hole to his kicks. He's done very, very well. Proud of what I saw from him as far as that part of the special team. Don't know why he hasn't. What he was a scholarship kicker. I don't know what he was doing in practice that made them say, "Hey, let's go with the guy that's walked on and give him a shot over the scholarship guy." Never understood that. And his evidence is what we saw from him now. So other than that, very very good game. We had a lot of penalties we shouldn't have had. Tyreek Sapp, as far as the veteran guys on the team, Tyreek had a great game. You spoke of mine.
Highest rated defensive player in the game yesterday.
Yep, and then Priestley had some pressures. Even though I know people look for the numbers as far as sacks, but he showed up. He flashed. He had a lot of pressures as well. So just love what I see from the guy. Just got to build depth. But to me, in the linebacker, the D line is straight. I wish we had a couple more. The safeties are not straight, but hopefully we can get two guys in here. We have one coming from Texas, and hope we can get CJ's boy in the class as well to back those two guys up for next year. And I feel good with the secondary as a whole as well. So love what I saw. Montreal ran hard. His best game of the year by far. Is not even close. So love that and love the flash from Treon Webb as far as backing him up. And I think they didn't give him a lot of carries because you're scared if he gets hurt, then you have nobody back there. So I just love the great team win. We needed it for morale. The fan base needed it. And I think the fan base needed to see a lot of these young guys so they can say, okay, Billy, we see what you're recruiting here. Let's go.
All right, CJ, give us your takes.
We talked about the one really bad play on special teams, but outside of that, special teams looked fine. Um, they were fielding punts, fielding kickoffs, getting yards as opposed to letting them all go. I mean, with what you could do, Ricky Pearsall would field a punt, run it back. He got us back to the 50 on one, and that's good. Field goal unit looked fine. No dumb, not enough men on the field, too many men on the field, none of that. Um, and that's all. I mean, again, you look at the play where they all surrounded the punt returner and the ball just kind of flew over their head. But aside from that, really not a bad day for the special teams unit, which is pretty good. We even downed one of the punts inside the 5, right? So, I mean, hey, if we play like that all year and the worst thing we do is let a punt go into the back of the end zone from here on out, I'll take it. There was a lot of good stuff from the game. Montreal looked like Montreal. Treon Webb had a great burst, to get the ball. He got the ball. His feet were going as soon as he grabbed it. We were a little hard on Arliss Boardingham last week for, needing 2 yards and not getting them. And you go into this week where he catches the ball about 5 yards in on a 15, need 15, and he got his 15 yards. And that's one thing we got to see from a lot of these players is, I know where the sticks are. I'm going to go get it. We saw, early in the game, and I understand Eugene or Trey isn't the biggest guy in the world. He's not going to run anybody over, but there was one play where he, instead of trying to get the first down, he stepped out of bounds and we weren't able to pick it up for the rest of the drive. You got to get your first down, but I understand he's kind of gimpy. You don't really want him taking hard contact, so I'll give him a pass. But that's the kind of stuff we got to see, like effort wise, from a lot of these guys. The safety play, Thornton is, typical. He really wants to hit you, which I love to see from a safety. He lays pretty good hits. The biggest thing to me though was Jakeem Jackson getting burnt and then responding. We have a lot of guys that have come through here in the secondary the last 8 years or so who would get smoked and then they're done. They're done. They've given up. They're not going to play, but he goes through the rest of the drive, makes the plays, makes a great play in the end zone a couple of times to keep them out. Just some really good stuff. The defense allowed 330 yards yesterday, which doesn't sound great, but when you realize about 140 of those were on 2 really bad misses, just some busted coverage from Jason Marshall, and like I said, I understand Jason Marshall got face mask. He's looking out an ear hole. And I would have understood completely him giving up the catch, but you can't just stop in the middle of a play and lobby the referee, you got to finish the play. Even if the ref gives you the flag, that guy's still going to run down the field. So you gotta do something. You can't just stop on the play. I think we gave Brenton Cox a lot of grief for that. He would get held and then throw his arms up and look at the referee, and he'd be done for the rest of the play. You can't do that, especially not Jason Marshall, who's been here for 4 years now, and he's a veteran guy on the team. You can't make those kind of mistakes. That's got to be addressed. You got to have some guys that don't give up on plays. Tyreek Sapp's a monster. Great game by Tyreek Sapp. Graham Mertz looked good again, 300 yards, a couple of touchdowns. Arliss Boardingham is doing what we asked Arliss Boardingham to do, really be a receiving threat at the tight end. Then I asked last week in the main show, to make the motion mean something. When we run these orbit motions,
Yes.
jet sweeps and stuff, we saw that being done, and it opened up the running game. It opened up, to be able to get Montrell to run the football, get Trayon Webb to run the football. So those are some things I like to continue seeing. I'm not really mad at the trick play, if you want to call it the double pass. Khalil Jackson missed the throw. I'm more upset at Montrell for not trying to get back to the ball and kind of turn into a defender on that play. And at least, you just kind of let him do it and let him intercept the ball. I want to see more from a guy, really fight a defensive back and kind of turn into a defender on the play and not make it so easy and come back to the football and get at least knock it down or try to knock it down. No, but like you guys said, the young guys on the team are performing very well. I think that's the thing we can all look to is the hopeful part of the future is these guys that we have recruited, the actual recruits, not the transfers, but the recruits look really good. They're all playing well. I don't have anything negative to say about the guys that we brought in. They all play well. Jordan Castell and Bryce Thornton look good. You get Phil Sami in there next year in that safety room. That's only going to make it better. I'm not sure how they're going to use Josiah Davis yet. I'm expecting him to be more of a special teamers guy, but if they've evaluated and think he can play safety, I'm not going to doubt him. So far, they've taken 3-star guys and turned them into really good players. So a lot of good stuff. I mean, you beat Vandy 38-14. You cover the spread. That's what we should do to Vandy. I think we as fans get more nervous and get more aggravated than I think we should because it's our team. But in all reality, we pretty well handled them. It wasn't ever – I never felt like the game was in doubt. I never watched the game and thought, oh, man, we could lose this. It was always, I just want to score more points and make it look as lopsided as it really was. But, no, great effort. You got a chance now. You go on the road. We haven't played great on the road. You gotta come out and play great on the road. You're playing in South Carolina. Kentucky Stadium is whatever. South Carolina actually has a really good atmosphere. They have a really good stadium. Their fans are going to be ready, especially after the ass whooping we gave them last year. They're going to want a piece back. So you got to get up. If you can get up and you can win the game, you're 5-2 going into your bye week. And I think that if we could pull that off now to be 5-2 going into the bye week, I think that's about as good as any of us could have asked for to start the season. So we'll see how that works out. You just got to get them ready. You've got to get the mindset going of how important this game is because it is super important. I want to see the guys go in there like they went into Texas A&M last year with the mindset, to really go out and win that football game. They really need it.
Yeah, I don't do the whole must-win thing. Obviously, we've covered that in previous weeks, Tennessee game, all that. What I will say is this will be a very telling game about how you always hear how Billy is learning and changing and adapting. And that's because you saw Kentucky flat, absolutely just flat. You've seen it in the previous road games since A&M last season. So A&M right now is the outlier.
I don't know, maybe because it was a rivalry game. I don't know. We didn't come out, and I don't want people to think
for
that.
Who?
Florida State. We didn't come out flat against Florida State either.
That was and here's another thing. And I'll tell you there's layers to this whole thing that I'm talking about. I've said it. I said it about the noon game for Kentucky. There's something about the earlier games where we just do not come out firing. Later games, you've got all day. You get amped up. You know how it is. You've played ball. You wait, like when you were in high school and all that, you wait for 7:30, 8 o'clock kickoff, man. By the time the game gets here, you just want to hit somebody.
Right.
Yeah.
Something about an earlier game.
It's your body.
Now it's a 3:30 game. Maybe that bodes better. Maybe that it's a 3:30 game will bode better than a noon game. But as CJ said, it's not going to be an easy task to walk into South Carolina. They have a great environment. You've seen the likes of Georgia struggle there and plenty of great teams. Now, that's a team that's beat up. They've taken some hard L's. But if you can bet on one thing, they're going to want to beat a team they feel like they should be able to beat and whip their ass last year in us.
Mm-hmm.
We're a beat up team. We have a lot of guys. And Grant, yes, I know, guy in the comments, it's football. Everybody's hurt. I understand that. But we have a lot of key injuries at key positions. And luckily, like I said, we were able to rotate a lot of guys yesterday. Barber was able to sit out. I don't know the extent of how hurt he is. Trevor's been beat up since Tennessee. We've covered this. They tried to give him a lighter workload. He still got hurt a little bit more in Kentucky. I think he'll be fine for next week. But at least now Trey Wilson is back, and he looks like he's in great. Obviously your legs aren't affected by your shoulder so much, but he took some hits yesterday, popped right up, kept going. But they eased him in. It wasn't in like the first series, just catching and taking, motion plays. That was Ricky. But you saw Ricky get beat up. Ricky was hobbling. Graham Mertz is made out of platinum or titanium or something, because that joker has been getting hit every game, every week, and he gets up and he keeps going. So I understand he doesn't have a deep ball. Florida fans, I understand that's, there's a lot of things you could say negative about Graham Mertz, but here's what we will say. He takes care of the football. He plays his ass off, and he wants to win. Now, he is what he is. He is what he is. You can't turn him into something he's not.
He gives us what we harped on that AR didn't give us. He makes the easy throws.
Yes,
the easy throws are there. He makes them, and that's all you can ask for.
The problem is now I believe everybody knows he's not hitting a deep throw, so they're not They're not, until he beats somebody with one, they're not going to respect it.
Right.
No, nobody is, and that's something we're going to have to deal with. Yeah, he had Ricky in the end zone. Yes, he got hit as he was throwing, but you've got to make those. At some point, you've got to complete one of these passes.
Yeah.
You can't throw the ball down the field and have Ricky running and looking over and reaching up and the ball being 5, 10 yards over his head. At some point or another, you're going to have to connect on one of those, or no set of safeties in this country, especially going into the games we're about to go into, are going to respect any kind of – and that's where – I'm with you, Wes. I take this play action and just take it out of the playbook.
Every time,
what difference does it make? What difference does it make if you're not going to complete it anyway?
Every time he turns his back to the defense and tries to plant on that back foot, it doesn't work.
And look, I get it. We got a lot of inexperienced tight ends and running. I mean, guys blocking, and they're not always chipping their block long enough to give him time. Yeah, I know there's a lot of executional pieces that aren't happening that cause each and every play to go. I also believe Graham doesn't check out of a lot of things that he should check out of in situations because he's not reading the defense correctly. But therein lies back to what we're saying. Graham is what he is at this point. We weren't ever expecting him. I know Heismerts and all that stuff on Twitter. That's just joking. Nobody expected Graham. That's people. That's large amounts of copium of saying, you know what, this is our guy and we got to support him one way or another. Right. But he's not going to be the Heisman trait. He's not going to take a Joe Burrow step. This is who he is. The one knack to Graham Mertz that when he came here was he turned the ball over a lot. He's got 2 picks that were both tip balls that both arguably should have been caught by their wide receiver.
Exactly.
He's complete. I understand the completion percentage is kind of a masked kind of reality because they're all short, small, intermediate passes.
Those pop passes help.
But look, we've been offensively, you can argue this. We've been in every game from the offensive side, kind of. I mean, if the defense didn't give up 947 rushing yards to Kentucky, now, is the play calling a part of it too? Yes. Is the play calling maybe part of it the way it is because they know Graham can't complete long passes?
I don't mind them trying because you have to keep
you got to keep them honest. You have to keep them honest.
That's what I was talking about. You take the shots anyway.
But the problem with keeping them honest is every once in a while you have to complete one.
Yeah, no, and
the laws of what is it called? The laws or whatever. Eventually, we'll get one. We go 2 for 30. Give me 2 against Georgia.
Well, we saw him hit one. We saw him hit one against McNeese.
But I mean, dang, and that he had his man by 20 yards.
And Ricky, had just come out from being injured on the long pass yesterday. He wasn't exactly.
Sometimes it looks like we give up on him. Like I don't know. Some of our guys when they're running those routes don't look like they're running like I don't know. It just doesn't it looks wonky from Graham all the way to the end of the play.
Right.
I want to see like when we had or you can do when I was saying, we were talking about the play action. If we do a 3-step drop and run a fade from the slot that we see a lot of teams do, just like the X or the Y run just a 5-yard dig, and that slot man, Burks did it against Utah. Like we did that against Utah. I want to see more of that. You don't have to take a post. Yeah, do that.
I think a part of the problem is, and this goes back to how many young guys we have. It's evident at this point Mizell's taking a red shirt this year.
Mm-hmm.
So there's one of your deep threats out. Like I doubt we see Mizell another snap this season. And that's fine. That's what it is. You need to space some of these guys out. I just don't think we have, from the older guy standpoint, the athletes to do that outside of Ricky. Now, especially now with Douglas out,
I was saying
even hampered yourself even more
with his hand. I love his hand.
You've got to have that guy, and obviously Andy Jean's been coming back from an injury, but Andy Jean is more of a route runner, I believe, than a guy that's going to take the top off the defense. I'm not going to say that elite route running can cause that, especially if you take your guy's ankles on a breakdown and then you jet past him. I mean, that it can happen, obviously. But I think it's just the point of having the athletes that can run those plays, and we're still kind of getting there and getting these young guys' feet wet where you have enough trust in them to have them on that kind of play, if that makes any sense. I don't know what's happened with Marcus Burke. Obviously, he came out that first couple series versus Utah and looked great. I do think he's been banged up a little bit. He was on the injury report. And then he caught a pass, obviously, late in the game yesterday. So maybe that is a step in getting him more back acclimated into the offense. We can hope, because we need the playmakers. It's not a doubt. Hopefully our tight end room gets some good news in the next week or so, and some of those guys come back. Not because I don't want to see more of Aris Boardingham, but God almighty, if he gets nicked up, we're going to have to start converting defensive guy. Maybe Kamari Wilson can play tight end. I don't know. Because we're going to
now you're cooking.
Now we're going to have to start. I mean, TJ Searcy looks like a tight end. I mean, he's got that tall.
We could go 3 wide receivers with 2 backs. That's it.
Maybe Marcus Burks need to be a tight end. He's a tall.
We need the tight end position to get healthy because of the blocking schemes.
Yes,
because Arliss, I love Arliss. Arliss is the blocker.
He is the Kyle Pitts kind of tight end. And no, I'm not calling him Kyle Pitts. Random guy.
Jordan Reed.
Yeah, he's that guy. You can split him out. He can play in the slot on some routes. You'll see him come in motion from the slot and break down on the end, maybe to throw a chip block and then slide out. They're using him great now. Like I said, I think this is a young man that did not quite all the way get it at the first, or maybe he thought he was better than he was at some point. And the staff put him in his place, because we heard in camp how great Arlis Boardingham looked. And then everybody was like, well, where is he to start the season? And there was a reason for that. And that was, he was not giving it his all in practice is part of it. And B, he was terrible at blocking, and he's still not great at blocking, but he's at least achieved a level where they feel confident enough in him being in there on these plays, not to mention, obviously, the depth chart is decimated, but, you know, where you can use him and don't feel like, oh, he's going to get our quarterback killed when he misses his guy. Plus, obviously, I mean, he did have 2 drops too. That's, you know, you've got to clean that up. But he came back and played fantastic. Great to him. He's probably our player of the game, him or Montrell, 1A, 1B. But hopefully that's a great sign of things to come on the offense. You did see some plays yesterday, I thought there was a lot of new, you know, new-ish plays, or at least wrinkles to things we had seen before. So, hey, kudos to that. That's evolving, you know, call it what you will. Like CJ said, at least they made the motions and all much more meaningful, and getting the ball to your players with skill in space, letting Trey be able to get a ball, turn the corner, you know, and make a guy miss or just run past the guy.
To take a pass like we saw him do yesterday, it was dead in the water and get 4 or 5 yards. I mean, that's more than you can ask for on a play that's
Trey does one thing that I wish a lot of our guys would do, and it's when he runs north and south. Like, he doesn't spend a lot of time. He may do a quick, you know, like a sway or something like that just to get a guy leaning the wrong way, but he doesn't chop or spin or do any of that stuff. He shoots by people. Now, I know he's got a high-end speed that all these other guys don't have. But we talked about it with Montrell for weeks. Like, why are you spinning? Why are you trying to cut back? You are a north-south runner. Drop your shoulder and hit somebody. And a lot of our guys have gotten that bug where they don't just, like, I'm sitting there screaming at the TV, just get 2-3 more yards. Quit trying to shake and letting the defense catch you, because that's all you do. Is the longer it takes you to get north and south, those people are closing on you. To me, that's just like,
I'd like to see us get a back out of the portal that really could catch the ball out of the backfield too.
Oh my God,
Montrell, and I'm not dogging Montrell, but
that's not his skill set.
Even when he catches the ball, it's like, you know, he's more worried because he's not a catch first.
He doesn't watch the ball into his hands.
So when he catches the ball, he has to make sure he's got it, and then he'll go. You know, you get a good receiving back, he catches it in one motion, foot in the dirt, he's going. And that's one thing that it hampers that, you know, swing route out of the backfield. You know, a lot of the plays that could really benefit us are quick passes in the backfield to the running back. We don't run a halfback slip screen. We haven't run one, I don't think, all year because of that. And that's the thing. That would help us a lot too, again, because Graham's already getting pressured, you know, let the defense through, and you can hit him, and he's got a slip screen and 3 blockers in front of him. But the problem is do you really trust Trevor and Montrell to catch that football and run right now? I mean, honestly, I would just line up Trey Wilson in the backfield at running back and run those swing routes with him.
Yo, CJ, our mind is synced and that's where we come into the creativity. I was thinking that. I know I'm not saying this either.
We saw Percy Harvin do that.
That's what I was see.
I saw actually a couple people say that on Twitter yesterday, late in the game, that they would like to see that, you know. Now we might see. The one thing you've got to see Trey do going forward is put a little bit of muscle on that body.
Yeah.
You know, and obviously you have to be able to do it and do it smartly and maintain.
Right, don't want to hurt yourself either.
You can't give him 10 carries back there. No, that's not what it's
No. And I'm not talking about handing it to him and like.
I don't care if he only gets 10 touches a game.
Yeah,
but you find different ways of doing it that keeps. Once again, this goes back to keeping defenses honest. Oh hell. Now he's in the backfield. I got to key in on that. So you're not focused maybe on something going over the top of you, what have you not. I mean, just his presence alone will create confusion if you move him around and do things like what we're talking about. And that's what they're trying to do now with the motion and, you know, the orbit motions and all of that stuff.
And like I said, we haven't seen
wherever
Trey
he
enough
goes,
to
we
know.
got to figure it out. Yeah,
We
exactly.
haven't seen him enough to know what they want to do with him. This is the first game back from injury.
Yeah,
they don't want to get him killed. So I don't think it's fair for me to say, oh, they don't know what to do with him because they haven't had him long enough to show me they know.
I mean, you look at the kid, he looks like he's 170 pounds soaking wet. I mean, and I'm sure, you know, it's a big jump. Everybody knows it's a big jump to go from playing in high school to playing against SEC teams.
And to preface all of it, he came in the summer as well.
He was late to campus.
He didn't go through the strength program.
And he missed a lot of games last year with the broken clavicle.
Yeah, so he hadn't been working. He hadn't put some muscle.
Well, I'm just saying that's you know, we saw the video of him squatting the 500 pounds or whatever it was, you know, in the off season, and that's all great and well. But I do understand the hey, we want to have this guy. Yeah, obviously, you know what this year is. You know it's a burnt year. I mean, you're not winning any titles. You're not doing any of that. Now what you're trying to do is establish these kids with playing time and moments where they can get their feet wet. Once again, I said that.
Right.
You know, where you can get them in there and they're getting game experience in important moments of the game. So next year, you're not using it's a young team excuse so much.
You want the main thing this year is to get the bowl game, get the extra practices. I think is where we're at. I think that's where I was at going into the season. Is get the bowl game, get the extra practices, and we'll go a long way with it. You know, there's
class together.
Right. They won't lack experience. You know, these guys have played a lot, which will help going forward. So
because next year, hopefully, you're not having to play 12, 13, 14 freshmen as many snaps as you're having to play them this year because you're not losing. Yes, I know we'll have some transfers that'll leave. Obviously, we already have kind of ideas on who those guys are going to be. And there'll probably be a surprise in there, whatever not. But let's be honest. Graham Mertz will be a quarterback next year. Let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and resign ourselves to it. He ain't going pro because you can't with no tape of throwing a deep ball first and foremost. And if no NFL team is like, that's the guy I want to be my future quarterback.
I don't know. The Falcons might look at that guy and say, you know what?
I hate you. And there ain't no damn.
The Falcons say, you know what?
That's an unnecessary shot. The Falcons beat CJ's Packers with that quarterback.
Hey, it's okay.
At least he throws to the tight end. He throws to the tight end, CJ. So they might be like, well, maybe Kyle Bisbee get some target.
That was unnecessary.
Man, Person's doing good. He watches the Gators on Saturday and the Falcons on Sunday. It's like the same team. He's like, man, this.
Me and my boy Justin. Shout out to you. He'll know because he'll listen and we'll be laughing about this later. Every Sunday it's like, I swear to God, football hates us. We're watching the same exact offense on Saturdays and Sundays. It's ridiculous. A quarterback that can't throw deep shots. Everything's swing routes and why?
And a good.
I made a joke. I made the meme about it on Twitter yesterday about, it was 3rd and long. We got backed up by the penalty. I think it was the hands to the face on George again or whatever it was. And then it's like 3rd and 20 and we threw 2 screen passes. And I'm just like, can we not throw a 12-yard, something or another just to make it look like we threw a 10-yard plus pass? Like it just.
We play like we're terrified of the interception. And it's 3rd and 23. And I understand there's no good play for 3rd and 23. There's just not. You're not going to dig it out. We're not going to run 4 verticals like it's Madden, throw it to guy, press Y.
Absolutely. I get it. But hey, try to get 10, 12 yards on 2nd and 20 or whatever it was.
Right.
And then make yourself a manageable pass on 3rd.
And I think that's the CJ point of that type of scat back that, okay, let's run a draw or something to get maybe 7 yards.
Oh my God. But then you face the whole damn, problem of if you run a draw on 2nd and 20, you're giving up if it doesn't get 7 or 8 yards is the problem.
That's true.
We run a draw. The whole defensive line's in the backfield by the time the quarterback gets it to the
real quick. I want to address something Billy said in his press conference because I saw a lot of overreaction to the comment. Billy made the comment, this is a place that will get to you if you let it. And everybody's, oh, what does he mean by that? I need some context. He's simply saying, if you don't have thick skin and can handle the pressure of the job, it will get to you. He's not saying it's getting to me. He's not saying, oh, I can't handle it. He's simply making a obvious statement. Hell, that could have been a shot at Mullen or damn
even if you want to take it that way, every coach we've ever had, it's gotten to at some point. Even Steve Spurrier
got tired of it.
He's like, man, these people want me to beat everybody by 50 points, and it's not realistic. Urban Meyer said, I got to go. Jim McElwain got to go. Will Muschamp, God almighty, that man right there looked like he lost his best friend every press conference. It's a tough job.
Billy's even keel about it. I don't think it bothers him a bit.
He's handled it better. I think they're mad they can't piss him off.
I think he is pissed off, but they can't crack him to show it. And that's the thing. Like,
it's his thing is he internalizes. He just wants to be better. It doesn't matter if he was at.
He's a competitor. He's 1,000% a competitor. I think he's got the best poker face in the game, honestly, because now, granted, I've been one that's critical about maybe his own field emotion at times, but hey. He's not out here making stupid comments. Take it for what you will. Everything he says is very calculated.
CEO.
All right, boys and girls, that's going to be it from us. We're just rambling at this point, but we appreciate y'all tuning in, man. I hope y'all enjoy your Sunday. Enjoy the victory Sunday. I hope your NFL team does good today. I think the Jags are already losing at this point. I hate it.
It's 11. Kyle just made a play on Ridley in the end zone. I'm glad to see him playing. I think Buffalo lost Tre'Davious White for the season with an ACL, so look for Edelman to play the rest of the year for Buffalo.
Good for Kyle, man. Good to see. All right, boys. Y'all get out there, throw some meats on the grill, enjoy your Sunday, and we'll do it all again next week as we prep up for South Carolina week, man. Hopefully, best thing about being 4-2 is the chance to get to 5-2.
That's right.
So let's get after it, boys. And until then, go Gators.
Go Gators.
Go Gators.